guys, this is Cynthia Schaub, and I am here with Peter Gebauer, and I'm going to ask him a few questions. He is one of the youngest members of the End of Fear project, and I'm here in Orlando visiting him and just getting to know him, and I have a few questions for him. Is there such thing as good and evil?
Well, I kind of feel like evil doesn't really mean anything. It's just a label for all of the stuff that we don't like violence or suffering. And suffering's something real, but evil just seems to be an abstraction for the stuff that we don't like and don't understand.
What is the EOF project, and how did you find the EOF project?
Okay, essentially, I was rather depressed because of how much I was comparing how I felt my life was to how everyone else seemed to be. Like, oh, I just don't seem to have as many friends or as good of friends or anything. Really lots of stuff like that. So essentially I was unhappy, and so I was searching, and I kept searching, and I found lots of spiritual stuff and all these different ideas, like law of attraction, blah blah blah. But it was never quite something that helped me understand. So even though I might have thought it was helping, I kept searching, and then eventually I stumbled upon Jessica's video, her Project Camelot one, her super famous one, and because I was looking up stuff about 2012 because I didn't really think it was some apocalyptic event, and then eventually I went to her Facebook page and found all of these interesting posts, and I was like, I want to keep reading these posts, they seem really cool, and I want to understand them. So as for what the project is, well, that's kind of hard to explain in just a quick sentence, but essentially it's all about understanding the mind and thinking instead of just following what other people said. If anything, it's like a co-working investigation to understand how our minds work and how confusion works.
As far as your family and the friends that you have, I know that we talked last night, we had a discussion last night about some people thinking that the End of Fear project was a cult. Can you share in your words, in your own words and with your own experience, why you feel it is not a cult?
Okay, the End of Fear project is not about following at all. All they really want you to do, I guess anyone who knows what the project is it's about thinking. And I find it really interesting that usually the people who think it's a cult are followers of a religion, and the End of Fear project is all about co-working, understanding and dismantling all of these conditionings and ideas that we've accumulated over the years to the point where our mind can barely function because it's so clogged up with all this stuff. I mean, it's not about authority at all, and if on the surface maybe you can rhetorically argue, oh, this is just another belief system, but really it's not that at all. It's about thinking. And how can you think when there's just beliefs? Because beliefs are the opposite of thinking. Because then you have the answer and that's it. You won't ever change. There's nothing more to be discovered. There's no more observation, just the statue of a belief.
Peter, what do you think is love?
Oh, wow. I really don't like this word, actually, even though people use it all the time, because of how misunderstood it is and has been throughout history. Really, all I have to say about love is that love is not important, and is definitely not more important than intelligence. And if you really want to define love, because it's just a feeling, and once you name a feeling, you're not observing that feeling anymore. You're just focused on an intellectual neuro-linguistic construct. I would just say love is thinking with a totally free mind, because that's the only way you can have a relationship that's based on communication and understanding, rather than all these kinds of petty expectations and authorities and dogmas that other people, other authors gave to us.
Where does violence come from?
Oh, okay. Violence is such an interesting topic because we all seem to think that it's just something totally natural, but we ignore the whole psychological elements that play into how violence is created. Because, you know, I mean, kids, like, you're not born being violent about something like a religion. That's not something you were born with, but then you're conditioned. I mean, it doesn't have to be a religion, any kind of belief that people get upset over, like, I mean, just cultural ones, even superstitious ones, like the number 666 or 13. And then people get upset over that. Really, I'd have to say violence comes from a lack of intelligence, or essentially where there are beliefs, because when you have a belief, all you see is that belief, and it creates a tunnel vision, and then we think that we are that belief, so when something different than that belief shows up, then we're afraid of it, and then rather than actually thinking,
We defend it.
yeah, we just fight for it. We already immediately have this protectiveness of, oh, this enemy belief is something bad, and we really create conflicts over nothing. So I would say violence is entirely tied up with the way in which we suppress our intelligence for beliefs and then identify in those beliefs and then fight for that identity.
Okay, Peter, so what is your take on memories?
Memories. Well, I definitely don't think that we are just our memories, although we kind of seem to think we are and always replay them over and over, especially the ones that we don't like, torturing ourselves because of them. But memories are really useful if you, rather than just identifying in them, observe them and use them to understand things that happened in the past so as to not have to always repeat them. And people fight over memories all the time. This is the other big thing of identity. Identity is essentially all these memories that we've accumulated that we sort of tape together by comparing them with what we think everyone else is and what we think we are. And they really don't have anything to do with thinking. They're just kind of like a data file. And in order to think, you have to be able to think, not erase your memories, but think out of your memories.
What is happiness to you?
Okay, well, there's the kind of happiness you have when you have been working on something and then you accomplish like a goal, like, oh, I wanted to become good at playing the clarinet or something, and then you're able to do that. Or, you know, you've been working on writing something or making a sculpture, like any of those kind of things. And that's fine, but I think that's just like kind of a temporary kind of happiness. But I think the most real form of happiness is that condition in which you no longer care about what happiness is, if that makes sense, because if we were actually happy, we wouldn't care to search for happiness anymore.
The differences between the power of now and living in the moment and the End of Fear project.
Okay, the power of now actually, if you look at it on just the surface, appears to be very similar to the End of Fear project, but it lacks the same depth, and it ends up giving you another kind of system. So really, the thing is, he's not, it's just not really the same thing as the End of Fear project, because the End of Fear is about thinking on your own and not giving you some kind of system to cling to, and that's really what it's all about, is the independent investigation and finding out for yourself. It's not at all about, oh, we say this and you should follow this because that's the right answer. No, it's trying to get you to think on your own without clinging to anyone else's answers, because we don't realize how much we do that every day because it just seems normal.